Yet there is another possibility. It's possible to permit certain functions like this overloaded operator, for instance, because very clearly this is something that was designed to work together with this class, to work very closely with this class. So there is a possibility that if I want to allow this class to access, to just go back to the individual data members of the class, like this. So if I make this change right now, of course, I try to build it again, it will break compiler again. So it will just basically say, again, I cannot access private data members. But there is a way to add a friend declaration to the class itself and permit this operator to access private members of the class. So what it means is that we can take this, copy it, and paste it really anywhere within the body of the class, like this, and turn it into a declaration. You would say, why would you declare a function inside the class? Well, simply because you can then qualify it as a friend. So if you say this operator is a friend of this class, then the meaning of this is that it allows this operator to access private data members of our class. So if we try build it, you can see that now it's not a problem, and therefore I could theoretically go back to like never add this. So instead of adding all of this, if that was the only reason to to allow public access to the internal portions of the class, then I'd just alternative would be just to add a friend declaration inside the class body, and then it would still permit this outsider, the function which completely defined outside of the body of the class, but still it would be permitted to access the internal private data members of the class. So this is a bit of a technicality, but sometimes it's useful, and it's part of the design when we work on organization of our classes and data structures. So this is possible. So I just comment here possible, because this operator, right? This operator right here is a friend of class date. Okay, so this is just a technicality that sometimes can become very useful. That you don't need to make every function member of the class in order to allow access to private data members, but you can make those functions friends. This should be used sparingly, only when it's appropriate. There is always a need for some experience and sense where this friendship is a good idea or a bad idea. For instance, this should not be done routinely, right? Because this is a very, very specific type of function, which is like a satellite of this class. This is why friendship is an okay idea. If this is just a general purpose function of some kind that wants to work with the class date, then it should not be routinely accessing its private members. Or as an example, like the alternative would be that either you provide sufficient functions to publicly access functionality of the class through the set of the member functions, Or you could make this something like this. You could make it part of the class. You could make it a member function of the class. So these are your choices. But casually, you should not be using friendship just because you want to allow a function to access private data members. So just that's part of what I wanted to mention with respect to this latest sample, which is now part of the presentation, the original presentation that we were using earlier this week. So I'm now going to close this solution. Before I exit this solution, I normally just close all the files and I say build. If I don't need this program anymore, so this saves space on your hard drive, and then go through close solution to just close everything, and then let's start new project.